If you have not already purchased your paper planner for 2025, when it comes time, do you already know which one you want? There are so many options out there, and I truly hope that you can find your favorite because when we find a paper planner that works really well for us, then it's easier to be consistent with and to keep us organized and on plan. And if you aren't sure what to look for in a paper planner, whether you just haven't really loved the ones you've been using or you've never used a paper planner before and you want to in the new year, then I want to share 5 things that I think personally that you should consider when you're selecting a paper planner. So you can use these questions to see if they can help guide you in choosing the right planner for you so that you are fully ready when the new year comes around.
Are you ready to stop the chaos, the stress, the overwhelm that's filling your life? I'm Renae Matt, and together you and I are going to build simple routines that are going to change your life. When you put these habits into practice, you're going to be able to organize your life in a way where you can be there for your family, pay off your debt, save money, your house can stay organized, you don't have to stress about what's for dinner, and you still get time for yourself. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to the Routine Advantage Podcast.
Now, before we go into the actual considerations for you when you're actually selecting a paper planner, I do want to first say that before you go into the questions, you need to know what the purpose of your paper planner is. Now, I personally use my paper planner in conjunction with my Google Calendar. So my Google Calendar is all of my appointments. That is all my time sensitive stuff. And then my paper planner is really just week to week. There's nothing in the future in my paper planner. It's in my weekly planning session. When I sit down to plan out my week, I use my paper planner to really draft everything onto paper. It just helps my brain work. And then I'm able to do a full spread of my plan within my day stacks so I know what comes first and on each day and how my day should flow if it sticks to plan. It doesn't always stick to plan, but we want a good guideline to help guide us. And then I can put in my priorities for the week. I can put in meal plan for the week if we want to. We can put in any reminders, all this stuff. It helps to just see the flow of my upcoming week. So that is what I use a paper planner for, but you might find that you want to use it a little bit differently than me. So having an idea of how you want to use your paper planner is a huge thing when you're going into these considerations. So I came up with 5 things that you'll want to consider to select the right paper planner for you. So, number one, you want to look at the spreads. You want to know, do they have a daily layout? Is it a weekly layout? Do they have a full monthly spread? All of those spaces, you want to see what is in your planner because not only you need to know what you're looking for, but also what you need. I know for me personally, the way that I plan out my week, when it has daily planning pages, like where one full day is takes up an entire page and then you have to flip through the week to get through each of the days, that does not work for me. I need to see my whole week laid out in a plan, but then I also can't have a weekly, a monthly, and a daily page because half of the planner would not be used for me. My brain does not work that way. I've tried them in the past, and for me, that doesn't work. So you want to know what you're looking for. Is it going to be enough? Is it going to be too much? So you really want to look at the spreads and see whether or not it has what you are looking for and what you're going to need based on how you are planning to use your paper planner. So that is something really big for me. The other spread that you want to look at is the additional space. Do you have spots where you can do notes or you can write down goals or big things that are happening in the year? Maybe it is tracking health notes. Maybe it is tracking your goals for your marriage. Maybe it's tracking your budget goals or finance goals. Maybe it's tracking just any sort of little habit tracker that you want. Does it have space in it there where you can do those additional things? I know planner that I use, it does have a full 2-page spread at the back of each month so that I can put all my notes in there for the month. But then at the very, very back of the planner, it also has multiple pages where I can do whatever I need to back there for planning and notes and goal setting and all that stuff and tracking. So that is really nice for me to have, and I really appreciate that. But that is something that you may not like or you may really want. So that's something to take a look at too. Okay, the second consideration is, does it have the additional space in the margins to add the details you need? Now, what I'm talking about here is when you are looking, say, at your monthly spread or your weekly spread, are there a lot of like decorations or illustrations filling up all of that additional space around the edges? Where if you fill up your day, you have no other place to write. And maybe you don't need any other place and you want the illustrations and you want the extra fun things on your page. But if you want to have enough space to write all of your notes, this might be something to consider is how much margin space there is. You might want additional margin space for priority tasks for the week or the day, just reminders for each day. It could be where you write out your menu. It could be where you are tracking habits daily or weekly. It could be a spot that you want to write in just a random thought for the day, or maybe it's like a daily gratitude and that's where you want to write it in. It could also be a little goal check in. It could be anything, and you might not need any of that, but it is something to consider if you are wanting to track those things or write those things in on your spread. Do you have enough space to be able to write those in? Like maybe it's on the margin or somewhere in the spread. The third consideration that you want to look at is it simple enough to be helpful, but not overwhelming? So, this one is huge. When you get a planner that has all the nuts and bolts and it has tons of things to track, it can feel exciting, but when you really get into it day to day, it can feel very overwhelming because it feels like you have to track so much. And then if you're not doing it to the fullest extent, then you feel like you're not living up to having the planner and being able to keep up with it, and then it kind of falls to the wayside, and that is not something you want to happen. You want to really enjoy your paper planner and actually use it for a way to be helpful in organizing your day and organizing your brain, and having it where it has enough structure to give you what you need, but keeping it simple enough that it doesn't get overwhelming is kind of an important thing. So that is something to be aware of as well. Like the ones that have a lot of stuff to track, it's great sometimes, but do you really need all the stuff? So that's something to keep in mind. If you have nowhere else to track any of those things, then maybe one of those types of planners would be good for you. There's a lot of planners that have like a whole budgeting tracking system in there. I know for me, we already have a budgeting system set up where I don't need that. It would be wasted space in my planner. So I don't get a planner that has that extra information in there, but that is something that maybe would be useful to somebody. Okay, the fourth thing to consider is the page thickness. Now, this one is huge because you want to make sure that whatever you choose to write with, whether it's pencil, pen, marker, whatever you are deciding to write with, you don't want that stuff bleeding through the pages because it just gets really messy. Or if you're using pencil, like, is it going to basically tear through the page when you're erasing? Like, that is something that would get really frustrating really fast. So that is just something to keep an eye out is how thick your pages are so that you're not having things bleed through or tear. And then the fifth thing to consider is just your general style. You want a planner that feels like you, and the aesthetic of it, it draws you in because you want to be using a paper planner that you like looking at and you enjoy using. You don't want to get a paper planner that's kind of ugly to you because it's not going to make you want to use it. You want to get one that really pulls you in and makes you want to use it. So I think that's a fun one. that I think is important. So hopefully you can kind of use these to help guide your decision when you're choosing your paper planner. If you do want the same one that I have, so I do have the Horatio Printing Dream Planner. And Horatio is just Horacio, and it's horatioprinting.com. And you can order their planners. If you use Renae15 as your code, you can get 15% off anything on their site. So it's RENAE 15. But I use the vertical dream planner, and I use the black leather book bound version. So I don't do the coil or the spiral, but I do the book bound version because it does lay flat, and I really like not having to work around the coil. But some people really, really like the coil. And what I love about this planner is that it has enough structure for me to be able to plan out what I need, but it's still simple enough because it's very clean looking. So it's very simple enough that I don't have to go overboard if I don't want to. And I have the flexibility to be creative and decorate it kind of myself with stickers or whatever I want, or just keep it super clean. And it has the monthly spread, it has then your weekly spread, and then at the end of your weekly spreads, it has a blank page for the month to kind of do some notes and a little recap or track your goals throughout the month. And then what is really cool is it has the back pages at the back where they're all just blank, so you have flexibility to track things there. And then in the very beginning of the planner, you can take some time to do some, it's kind of like journaling prompts where it goes through and you kind of recognize what is important to you and what your priorities are. And then quarterly, it has you check in and see kind of where you're at in those areas, how you're feeling, and how you're progressing. So you can kind of look and take some time. Now, you can skip those pieces if you want to, but if you get this planner, I highly encourage you to take the time to just sit down and even jot out just a few sentences. It can be so insightful to take some time to look at that. And I know I appreciate having it in there because I probably wouldn't ask myself the specific questions that it is asking me. So I really appreciate being able to just do this on one of my mornings for my morning routine and just jotting things down and having that to be able to go back and look at later on over the years so I can actually look back and see what had happened and how I was feeling in those spaces. So that is what I love using. I just think it's beautiful and it's so high quality. The pages are super thick and it is just I think it's gorgeous, but it's very simple and the aesthetic is very clean and professional, kind of. It is also a Christian planner. So you will see that there are little Bible verses throughout, and it does focus on a Christian focus. So that is something to be aware of as well. And I love that aspect of it. But I really love this planner and I have been recommending it to everybody. So that is the one that I use. But I know there are a lot of really great ones out there. I know other people have mentioned that they really love the Laurel Denise planners. And I think there's another one that's like the Penny Pincher planner. And there's tons of them out there. So that is just something to keep in mind. I think there's an Erin Condren that a lot of people like as well. So it really just depends on what you're looking for. But you really want to kind of take these things into consideration so that you can figure out what you need in a planner and then find the one that best fits for you. So before you go through these, I think, like, again, you need to know your purpose of why you need your planner in the first place. And then those 5 considerations when selecting the right planner for you is number one, the spreads. Do you need the daily, the weekly, the monthly? What do they have for the spreads? Do you need additional ones to write additional notes or goals throughout the year? Number 2 is, does it have the margin space to add any details you need, like for priority tasks or reminders for the day, menu planning, habit tracking, thoughts of the day, daily gratitudes, goals, things like that? Number 3 was, is it simple enough to be helpful but not overwhelming? Do you have enough structure there that it's going to be useful but not overwhelm you? Number 4 is, take a look at the pages. So you want to have thick enough pages that there's no bleed through and there's no easy tearing when you are trying to erase things. And number 5 is your style. Does the aesthetic draw you in? Because you want a planner that you are wanting to use.
Did you love that episode or learn something useful? If so, would you do me a huge favor? My goal is to grow this podcast and help as many women as I can break free from the overwhelm so they can truly enjoy their life. The best way for me to do this is for you to leave a 5-star written review on your podcast app and to share this episode with a friend or in your Instagram stories. I appreciate you being here. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you on the next episode. Take care.